Welcome back, kids, to another episode of Sit Crooked, Talk Straight. That means sit crooked, get comfy, and talk straight. No bullshit.
No bullshit.
I am Katie Myers.
And I'm Leanne Jamison.
And we are filled with gratitude that we get to do this episode with y'all. This is a passion project, a love fest, a coming together of women who love and support women. And today is no different in that we are talking about transition, navigating change. And we had an episode air back in April, probably April 29th, focusing on navigating loss. So check that out because we weave in the navigation of transition and change and what that feels like. And sometimes it can feel like loss, even if it's good or positive. And I just find that the only constant in life is change, right? And so let's dive into, and you're going through your, you're not going through your change. That made it sound like you're going through like menopause or something.
Leanne's not going through so many. Who knows? Maybe.
Too young for that. We're not there yet. But going through, like, there's just lots of life transitions and changes and navigating those things. And we don't always recognize them as events, but we're going through them all the time.
Yes. Well, and even when you said like the only thing constant is change, that has been a mantra of just like the acceptance of like, okay, like we're going through another change. Like it doesn't have to be horrible or bad. Like it just is. And like all of this stuff. And in doing that, what I can do is get into my conditioned self of ignoring the other feelings, right? Ignoring the plethora, the range, the full scope of feelings that are happening for, whatever reason. That it's just, they're too difficult to feel. I don't want my daughter to, like my kids to pick up on it. Like, I just want them to be happy and like whatever. But it is hard. Like and again, it's hard. It's joyful. It's scary. It's like everything, right? And we go through. So it's just like the only constant is change. Is like, I remember just using that to the point where, again, like sometimes it got a little conditioned where it was just like, there's no time for those feelings. The only thing constant is change. Just accept what you're going through and like keep moving through it,
Interesting kind of transition of embracing something, and then that embracing of it turns into not almost compartmentalizing, almost like I'm not saying this very well, but like it's on one end of the extreme, it is it looks like embracing, it looks like openness and free flow and energy and connectivity. On the other end of the spectrum, it is, well, just got to keep it moving. Just got to keep moving because change is happening. And so it's right. And how often do we vacillate? And I love that you talked about the like, it's hard and it's good and it's scary and it's exciting and it's all of those emotions can occupy the same space at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
Giving yourself permission to experience all of those emotions, not just the good ones. And even as I heard you say, like, I don't necessarily want my kids to pick up on different emotions. I totally get that because I often filter through the lens of how is Sloan going to perceive things. How am I presenting or like modeling certain behaviors or things or emotions to him. And I think we need to cut ourselves some slack as mamas that we are fully emotional beings, and it's not the worst thing for our children to see the fullness of even the hard emotion.
My gosh. Well, and when we take it to that level, it's just like we're always modeling, right? How do we move through this? How do we move through transitions? How do we handle our emotions? And by allowing them to see the full range. And this is really, it's like stuff that I know, right? But it's like, as I'm trying to manage, which isn't mine to manage, but still as a mom, like trying to manage Maya's, anxiety about things, and then mine, and like, and trying to play it off of like, okay, like it's gonna be fine, like, because I know that logically, and like, right, I don't want to invalidate her emotions. It's a shit show up in my mind during transitions. It really is. It can be.
I imagine you in the 7-hour drive to the, like different college visits that you guys went on, and like in your head, you're like, like going through like all the different like, gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta do that, but that has to counteract this, and this has to be that way, and this has to, and like, mama, like
Yes.
you've got an experience too. Like Maya absolutely is having an experience, and you want to show up for her and like create space for that and honor and all of that. And your firstborn, your baby girl is looking at freaking colleges, right? Like
I know.
She's about to make a huge transition. Yeah. You and your family are going to be making a huge transition when she goes to school, right? Like there's just so many. Everybody gets to have their experience.
Exactly. Well, and I think that it's just like so often we're expected to just brush past it. And I mean, there are transitions on the spectrum, right? With me. And it was, well, let me back up a second, because like, it was so interesting. I was quiet. I was sort of a little recluse as like, we're starting the whole process, like in the beginning of the month. And I was just like very focused. I'm like, okay, getting everything together. And it wasn't until I sat down with my sisters. It was right around my birthday. And I said, I think I'm having a hard time. They're like, what? What's going on? I'm like, I am just having a whole lot of emotions around Maya and like everything we're getting ready to do. And I know we have another year and stuff like that. And I, logically, I know all this, and it doesn't negate the way that I'm feeling or she's feeling or anybody's feeling. And often I don't know if it's an expectation that we put on ourselves that was probably passed down of just like when it's a good air quote transition, we're supposed to just be happy. We're supposed to be excited and look at all the possibilities, which again, yes. And there's such a grieving process that we go through of one thing is ending and another is beginning, right? And it can be, again, it goes back to like, it's exciting, and I'm so excited for her. I'm so proud of her, and I'm going to miss her terribly. And I like get scared of like, what's going to happen? I got to talk to her about sex, and like, I mean, like, it's like everything is just like full force of just like, what is she going to be like in college? I don't know. Anyway, so it's just like, oh gosh, so much fear that comes up and so much excitement. And this is for everything. And I know that I think that I've spoken about this before. And I know that I've spoken about this with Heather Hurd from Kelpie Town Cove. This is one of the reasons why she came into my program when she did, is because I was speaking on the difficulty I was having in transitioning from corporate world into entrepreneurship, and as exciting, and how much this has been a dream. Like, it is a dream for me, for Maya to follow her dreams and to see her flourishing in so many ways and going into pre-med, like what? So and like there's so much sadness, and there's so much releasing, and there's so much there's just so many conflicting feelings, and we don't offer the space oftentimes for ourselves. Like you said, give yourself permission. We don't give ourselves permission to feel all the feelings. We don't give ourselves that permission, and other people, right, like often don't either, because they're conditioned too. And like, I haven't even talked to Ed about any of this. Like, I haven't even talked to my husband about like, how is he feeling? And right, because I know he's got to have some feelings too. So yeah, we have a lot of firsts, right? With Maya, first boyfriend, first prom, which thank God at 16, she has her first boyfriend, because I was like 3 years her junior when I had my first boyfriend. which we've talked about. She's like, ew.
Thank God that our children get the opportunity to have a different story. And I want to highlight the kind of, again, going back to the navigating loss episode. Anytime there's transition, anytime there's something new, that usually means, or there's some indication of something else that had to go away or shift, or that is no longer. I mean, think about all the different things. Getting married, you're grieving your singleness. Having a baby, you're grieving your like loss of independence. You're having like all of these really beautiful, awesome things, and it's just kind of like the stressometer. Stress is not just negative. It's the impact on our systems, and it's our response to it. And so we have to remember that even like the really awesome things like a promotion, that's a transition. Grieving the loss of your old self or your old role when you get promoted to a new role, or like you were saying with Heather, and you really connecting over this like transitioning into entrepreneurship. I still experience at times the loneliness of entrepreneurship. I wouldn't change it for anything.
Right.
And there are times where I grieve or I am navigating the loss of like workplace relationships, going in and grabbing your morning cup of coffee with somebody and or like shooting the shit at the water cooler, or right, like just me walking down the hall to your office to talk about a client that we're both connected with, or a patient's family, or somebody that's right. Like I miss those things. I still wouldn't change anything about what I'm doing necessarily.
Yeah.
But I can acknowledge that all this good is happening, and I miss parts of this old life, or this old me, or this past version. And so it's, and I'm thinking right now, like even as we're recording, we're near graduation season, right? And I'm thinking about all the parents that are saying, in many ways, goodbye to lots of ways, this phase of life of having somebody live in their home, take up space, eat their food, occupy their time, and then they graduate high school. And so for many, not everybody, but for many, that indicates a huge transition of like flying the nest. And so often, like whenever my friends have kids that graduate or that have these transitions, I'm just like, oh, how fun. That's so like congratulations to you and to them, because it's big for everybody. And then I just keep it moving. I don't know how to pause for some of those transitions, because one, I haven't experienced them, and two, we as a society are so used to just keeping it moving.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that you bring that up, because it's so important to like stay curious. I've had a lot of friends around here in the Buffalo area actually like become empty nesters over the past year. So that whole transition has been like huge for them. And they're like, I can't even explain it, right? Like you just can't explain it. But like just the assumption that we have of like, oh, it's so exciting, blah, 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 because we don't want to get into like the, oh, it must be hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, let's just like brush past that. But I remember that brought up like such a strong memory for me of, I remember seeing somebody else when I was real fresh out of grad school. And this woman came on, I was working at the domestic violence agency. And she came in, she was just, we offered support for like the local women and stuff like that too. So she was just coming in as, a local woman looking for some support, maybe. Anyway, so she's like 70 or so. And she sat down and she's like, well, I lost my husband last month, or I think it was like last month. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. And she just looked at me. I'll never forget her. She was like, don't be, he was a fucking asshole. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, like, that taught me, like, do not make assumptions about what people are experiencing or not experiencing, or like how they're transitioning, because everybody transitions differently as well, right? Where some people might be like, all right, empty nesters, we're good, blah blah blah, and they're like sunsetting off the, like, all these places, and my friend did that, and she still had that grieving. She still was like, holy fuck, there are some really hard days. And yeah, so it's just it was so interesting though, because I was like, that'll teach me. That'll teach me real quick.
Too, like how I usually respond when somebody says, and now I respond when somebody says, like, oh, I'm going through a divorce, or the divorce is final or something. I will now pause and I say, congratulations or my condolences. And I ask, right? Because it used to be like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, right? Like that just must have been so hard. And for some people, they're like, get the fuck out of here, man. That's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like we are celebrating. Right. And so it is like, check your assumptions at the door. And and recognizing that, like you said, like I can't imagine what it's like to be an empty nester. Like I'm not there, right? And so asking people, I think we should get used to asking people, and it's not like hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Okay, like keep moving again, because we don't want to like get into the nitty gritty and like the depth of how people are really doing, but pausing and saying like, this is a big transition. What's that like for you? And acknowledging it and creating space for it. And it doesn't have to be a therapy session, right? Like it doesn't have to be this full on. Although you might find that when you open that door, the floodgates open and certain emotion comes out, and that's okay too. But like it's nothing that anybody or any of us need to feel the pressure to fix, or sometimes people just want space because not given space.
Yeah, and I have found that has been my thing recently, just going through this with Maya, where, letting people know, like I let my sisters know, I'm like, I'm just really, I'm in like this weird funk, weird, like whatever it is, I'm just going through it. And for them to just know and be there. And then the same thing with my mom, she because I know that she gets like, she can be very sensitive, because I'll be short. I'll just be like, yeah, I'll do this or whatever. Or like, no, I can't do this or whatever. And she's like, what's going on? What's wrong? And I'm like, I'm just like having moments. Like I can have moments, because everybody's so used to me, especially my family, being this like high energy, very optimistic, very, and I am, right? That's like that. I am positive. That's what they've called me.
So whenever there's a cloud that comes across the ray of sunshine, which is so normal because that is just the way the weather and life happens,
right?
People freak out.
Like, they think it's like a fucking tornado or something. I'm like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm just going through it, and I really don't want to talk about it. I really don't.
That's okay. Set the boundary. Like, hey, I'm going through it. I'm feeling it. Now's not the time to talk about it. I'm going to be fine. I've got therapy later this week.
Exactly.
And that's okay. So, like, how you navigate change, how you process the good, the hard, the positive, the challenges. There's no right or wrong. There's no, and we say this all the time, like to release judgment of it. Like there's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. There's just a lot of information, and giving yourself that kind of space and permission to vacillate on the spectrum of. This morning, I was super excited that Sloane's going to be in 5th grade next year, and we're going to have 5th grade graduation. I met with a group of moms last night, and we're talking about like the 5th grade trip, and like super excited. And this afternoon, I might be like, fuck that. I'm not ready. And slow your roll. We're not there yet. And that's okay, because transition internally does not always have to look beautiful or put together externally. And that expectation that we like get our shit together, I don't know. I think it's pretty unrealistic and bullshit.
Right. Well, I would even challenge like getting our shit together means going through all this. Like, I am getting my shit together. Just because it doesn't look that way to you. This is getting
Right?
my shit together. This is
My process does
allowing
not need to
myself to
look
feel.
my process
Yep.
does not need to look a certain way for you.
Right, exactly. And I know that I think I brought this up during the grief episode, was the counseling strategies for loss and grief. That was like a huge book for me to really embrace, because it does show this, like, who am I with this person, who am I without this person, and with and without this person, it could be an external person, or like you were saying, it could be an internal person, an identity that you are releasing, that no longer serves you, like. So it doesn't always have to revolve around like the loss or like the transition of a relationship, or a job or anything. Like, it is like it is this, again, this identity that we're shedding, the beliefs. Even when I first start meeting with the women that I work with, it's like truly the shedding of just like all these different beliefs that we were holding on to in a grieving process, of that girl that we were, that thought we had to believe like so much that that is so important to embrace again. So it's like, who am I with this person as this old identity that held on to all of this blame and the frustration and the perfectionism, and who am I without her? And that's a ping pong ball back and forth, where it just vacillates. Again, it could be as quick as like, in the morning, I'm great, I'm excited. And an hour later, when I'm sitting in my shit, I'm like, holy fuck. Right? When we have time to just take it all in.
For sure. Yeah. And the name of the game forever for me will be grace and space. Kindness and curiosity. And what do you need to, what would be the call to action for this? What do you need to give yourself grace to feel all the different feels about transition? Maybe it's communicating to loved ones, hey, like, I know like nobody died, but like I'm going through this like internal metamorphosis where I feel like a part of me is dying. And so it may look a certain way, or I may look a certain way, or express myself, and just know that like I'm like, maybe just some communication with your loved ones about, I'm going through something. I don't necessarily need to talk about it. I don't necessarily know what it's going to look like when I'm done, but like,
it's happening.
Right, like there's something that's happening. It's happening. And then setting boundaries. Knowing, one, getting connected with yourself enough to know what you need, and where people end and you begin, and creating that space so that, again, you can lovingly let people know, this is as far as you can come for right now, until I work things out, or until I, and in the process, I say like that's a finish line or something, until I work things out, and then I'll let you know that I've like crossed the finish line. Let me rephrase that. Until I get to a new place, because we're never going to have it figured out. We're never going to cross the finish line. Change is going to continue to happen.
Change is truly constant, and not in a way that it's just like, oh, just keep it going. It's in a way of, change is always going to be there. So how do you want to embrace it and flow with it, and allow yourself to, again, feel all the feels through it? Yeah. Oh, so good. So
show up for yourself, show up for others. You might be the first person that ever models this type of behavior for somebody else. And so, not that that's your job or responsibility, but just know that not everybody is skilled at this, and you don't have to be either.
Right. So important to know.
With what we've got.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, I love that grace and space. I think we have to put a sticker. We have to put a sticker together for that. Grace and space, and then curiosity and compassion. Ooh, I love it.
Challenge accepted. I actually have a friend who makes stickers. She's got like a setup. I'm going to ask her if she can make us some stickers.
too. So if you want a sticker, reach out, holla. First, you have to like us, you have to subscribe, and you have to share. Check us out on Patreon. Maybe we'll throw you some stickers if signing up for Patreon. How much fun!
When you sign up for Patreon, you get a little love bundle from us, and it will include some stickers.
It will include some stickers and some other fun things. Oh, we just came up with this. We'll follow through. So, okay, next Patreon subscriber. We're doing it. I'm super excited. I'm so excited. So we're going to keep a lookout. and like, share, and subscribe. So we are on all the platforms. We're on, oh my gosh, we're on YouTube, right? We're on Instagram. Yeah, you can find us at Crooked Talk Straight with Katie and Leanne. So yeah, until next time, I'm super excited to give our first love bundle out. All right, everyone. Thank you. We are so honored that you spent another episode with us. Katie and Leanne here, sending you big, big love. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and always let your legacy shine. Mwah.